Our free and equal segment tonight, townhall.com recently published an article on the death penalty titled "Innocent People Are Rarely Executed." In it, the author makes the case for the death penalty, but says that whether or not you support it, innocent people are rarely executed. So is that true? With me now, from conservatives concerned about the death penalty, Heather Beaudoin. Heather, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz.
All right, Heather, this is interesting. I know it's traditionally conservative to support the death penalty. This article was pretty adamant about the fact that innocent people are rarely executed. I want to hear both sides of this from, I guess, within the Republican Party. Is this true that innocent people are rarely executed in our nation?
You know, it's not true, Liz. We know that there have been 159 people who've been exonerated from death row in this country since 1973. And quite frankly, the title that innocent people are rarely executed is problematic for me because as a pro-life conservative, I find it very troubling to know that anyone could be innocent and executed in our country. So I think that that's very troubling. Certainly, we have right to estimate that for about every 9 people who are executed, one of them is wrongfully convicted. So those are pretty staggering statistics.
Right, it is staggering, and I guess my issue with this article was the word innocent. I mean, our justice system, the only time that we really deal with the concept of innocence is that you're innocent until you're proven guilty. When people are exonerated, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're innocent. It just means there's not enough proof to convict them here. So I sort of fundamentally took issue with the title of that article, but the article also said that it's really unknowable to calculate the number. They said that anti-death penalty advocates are misleading when they throw around numbers, even like the 159 people that you mentioned, and that there's no way to really know. Is that true?
That's not true. You know, there are lots of evidence around each of these cases that suggest that the person definitely had no place on death row, whether that person was completely innocent or whether there was prosecutorial misconduct or hidden evidence and all of these things. I mean, we want to stand on our justice system in America, right? And as you said, we want to stand on the fact that folks are innocent until proven guilty. And so certainly if there are problems in a death penalty trial, we don't want that person to be sentenced to death. You know, the Supreme Court has mandated all of these things so that we don't send innocent people to death row. But the fact of the matter is our criminal justice system is run by human beings. So it happens. There's no way for it to be perfect.
Right. And I guess my problem with the death penalty, and this is an issue that I'm frankly torn. I can be pulled in both ways about this because I think there's pretty captivating, compelling evidence on both sides of it. But my main problem is that innocent people can, and there is evidence that they've been exonerated. In fact, the rate, I think defendants awaiting execution are 8 times more likely to be exonerated of their crime than other defendants. And that's very troubling to me because of the principle behind our justice system that our justice isn't vengeance. You are innocent until proven guilty here. The purpose of incarceration, the purpose of putting these people away is not to punish them. It's to protect other innocent people. And we're at a point, it seems to me, Heather, where there's not really the possibility of escape anymore. So it's not our only option to put these people to death. They can be housed in prison without the possibility of parole. And then additionally, that costs us less.
That's right. And so why wouldn't we use that option, Liz? You know, when we're talking about a life on the line, why wouldn't we say, okay, we can separate you from society and we can make sure that folks are safe from you if you're committing violent acts. But we can say, here, we have time now to investigate whether or not you committed this crime. I mean, we have examples of courts across the country who have not allowed DNA evidence to come forward. And by the way, DNA evidence is only available in about 5 to 10% of homicide cases. And I think a lot of folks don't know that. I hear very frequently, well, we have DNA evidence now, so certainly we know who committed crimes. And unfortunately, real life is not like CSI. We don't often know. It's not clear cut. And so these are problems that we need to grapple with.
Right. And I think the primary counter argument to my point, the fact that we can house these people without the possibility of escape very often, the counter argument to that is that the purpose of the death penalty isn't just to exact justice against that individual person or to prevent them from hurting other people. It acts as a deterrent for these terrible, heinous crimes like kidnapping, capital murder, rape, any kind of, murder of a police officer, the whole gamut of those things. Is that true? What are the facts? What do the facts show us about the deterrent quality of the death penalty?
Right. And unfortunately, that's another issue that is very difficult to study. And there are studies that suggest both sides. We would say, the statistics show us that certainly in states like Texas, the murder rates are higher in states where the death penalty is used frequently. So often these are crimes of passion. The person is certainly not sitting down and thinking, am I going to get the death penalty for this crime? Should I cross the border into a state next door that doesn't have the death penalty and commit the crime there?
Right.
Folks just aren't rationally thinking when they're committing these crimes, unfortunately. So we don't see a large deterrent effect. I think if we did, it might be a different story.
Right. This is such an interesting conversation to me. Like I said, I think there's compelling evidence on both sides, but it almost seems to me like the conservative view is morphing more towards anti-death penalty because of these cases that have been exonerated. And I guess that was my problem with this article. I thought it was a fascinating article. They had good data in the article. What do you see in your activism? Do you see more conservatives coming to this view or no?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is fascinating to me. We've been at CPAC for the past several years, and I think every year support for conservatives concerned about the death penalty grows. And we see folks who are coming up and saying, yeah, I changed my mind on this. I thought I was for the death penalty, and then I really looked at the way the system functions, and I realized this is not an example of limited government. We hear that a lot.
Right.
Why we give government the power to decide who lives and who dies when we don't trust the government to fix a pothole or to deliver our mail? That's problematic. And so as conservatives and libertarians, we need to look at that, and we need to grapple with that. So yes, I think there are more and more conservatives every day who are coming to this side of the issue.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Heather. I appreciate you coming on the show. Come back, talk about it again with me. I want to go into this in more depth sometimes too, and try to address each and every concern or argument on both sides. See if we can distill this into what we think as conservatives. Thanks for being on the show.